So what inspired you to create this gut repair app? Was it a personal story, a patient story? I mean, where did you get this idea?
That's a great question. Thinking back, I think it was personal to begin with. I had some gut issues myself, and as a practitioner, a lot of times you don't share what you're going through with even your other colleagues, and so you're trying to fix things on your own. So I think I really started researching the principles of fasting. I have always kind of, in my adult life, practiced some form of fasting, spiritually. And when I got into juicing, I mean, this has been years ago, years and years ago. It was the Hallelujah diet, and it was just a raw juicing type thing, and it was amazing. I remember doing my first one, and it was just for a short period of time, but the first couple of days were like terrible, but then after that, it's like, wow. I mean, the mental clarity, how I felt, my gut, my stomach flattened. And so I just thought, you know what? You learn these things, Sabrina, as a practitioner, and then you do them, and you do them for a period of time, and then you kind of, get on another rabbit trail.
Yeah.
And so I kind of just forgot about how powerful fasting could be. And so I know that I did a 30-day juice fast, and I was amazed at the difference it made in my life. And I thought, I want to share this. And I know 30 days is a lot. People think, oh, no, there's no way I could do a 30-day juice fast. And you don't start with that.
Right.
But I wanted to make it easy for people to start using fasting as a tool in their own health. It's one of the cheapest things you can do for yourself, and one of the most beneficial things that you can do, because you've heard me talk about patients reaching the level of autophagy so that the body gets rid of the senescent cells, the cells that have gone rogue and are damaging tissue. Well, fasting is one of the best, most effective ways to do that. And so, instead of having them start a 30-day juice fast, I thought, well, what if we just start with like baby steps? How about we teach them intermittent fasting? And then let's move into a few days of juice fasting. And then let's even try a little bit of water fasting, because that scares people. It scared me as a practitioner. I didn't do water fasting until about 10 years ago.
Wow.
And so, because I really didn't think I could do it, but once I did it, I started with a 1 day, and then I went to a 2 day, and then a 3 day, and then the most I've ever done is a week of water fasting. So, so I just started practicing that with myself, and it was easy. It was really interesting, because it went from, you go to intermittent fasting, and they can pick a 12-hour and 16-hour, and 20. I did 20-hour intermittent fasting when I did that with my group, and that just teaches them that, I can go without food for a period of time to help my body to clean up itself and help, strengthen my immune system. And then the next week, it's a lot easier. You're not having the detox reactions from it when you baby step into that. So then next week we would do juice, and the week after that, a little water, and then we would decide on what type of diet style works well. So when you can reverse inflammation in 30 days, that's huge, and just with what you're putting in your body. When you can reverse diabetes, type 2 diabetes, in 30 days, it's amazing. And this is what we saw. We had patients who had migraines that got rid of migraines. It helps to reset and balance your hormones. So there's so much benefit. So that's kind of how I got started. And I think if anyone learns these principles, they can carry that the rest of their life. They'll know how to heal themselves when anything pops up in their life, whether it's cancer or heart disease, or you can prevent that from happening if you practice this on a regular basis. But if it does happen, you have the tools now to reverse that. So that's why I started.
Yeah, well, that's super empowering for people, is taking their health in their own hands,
Right.
and having it right there on their phone as an app that they can go back to if they need it.
Right.
So we hear a lot about the gut. The gut, the gut, the gut. I mean, you always are hearing it. As a naturopathic doctor, what sort of gaps are you seeing in conventional medicine or even functional that's not fully addressing that issue, that so many people are still dealing with gut issues?
Right. So there's a huge gap in allopathic or, traditional Western medicine because, like I said, it's so specialized. And so a lot of the symptoms that come from a leaky gut, such as headaches, migraines, acne, inflammation in your joints, chronic fatigue, all of that can come from the gut dysbiosis, and so leaky gut. It can lead to all of our chronic diseases, cancer, heart disease, diabetes. So it's a huge issue, and it's just kind of overlooked. And it's treated in mainstream medicine with an antacid or just throwing something on top of it, never getting to the root cause. What caused my gut to be leaky? I strongly believe that people had such a terrible reaction to COVID because of the population, the mass population having leaky gut, and those spike proteins just would go right into their bloodstream and wreak havoc. And so had we not had such a leaky gut, that would not have happened, in my opinion. So I think it's a huge issue. And what people don't realize is that the majority of your immune system lies in the gut. We've heard about the gut-brain connection. Well, there's the gut-immune connection. And so if you want to have a functioning, healthy immune system, you've got to have a healthy gut. And so it's more than just the mental health part of it. It's that and your immune health.
100%. I know with autoimmune diseases, they say it starts in the gut as well.
Exactly.
And so much of it has been normalized. Oh, yeah, I have a stomach ache after I ate that. That's just normal. I'm really tired after I eat this. Like, these are not normal things, but we have normalized them.
Right. Because so many of the population has those issues.
Right.
Yeah.
And doesn't know what to do about it.
Yeah. And
So-
don't know what it feels like to not have that
Yeah.
until they heal their gut. And then they're like, wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know I could feel so good. I didn't know I could have so much energy. I didn't know that I don't have to look 9 months pregnant after I eat,
Right.
It's real issues.
Totally.
Yeah.
So from a naturopathic doctor's perspective, what is a healed gut?
The mucosal lining of the gut from the esophagus to the anus is going to be sealed. And so you don't have those little micro tears in the gut where it's leaking out toxins that should not be in your lymph and your bloodstream. Okay. But you do have a backup system because, if it leaks out, your lymphatic system is that backup system that helps to, detox that out of you so it doesn't cause damage. So, it's interesting how we have these backup systems over and over again in the body because I guess God knows that we're going to destroy our gut with what we eat. And it's not even just what you eat, it's what you think too. We talked about that earlier in another clip about the impact that the emotions has. And so a lot of times when you are under a lot of stress, you spike cortisol. Cortisol spikes inflammation, and inflammation just kind of, tears up the gut intestinal mucosal membrane as well, and just makes you vulnerable to viruses and everything that you have exposure to in the environment instead of having that seal. So that's part of it. And then we've messed up the gut microbiome. So we may have too much of this bacteria and not enough of this. One of the bacteria that I see that most people are really deficient in is Akkermansia. And Akkermansia is linked to high glucose and diabetes, along with other, inflammatory issues. And so everybody needs to know what their gut microbiome looks like. And you can find out with an easy stool test. And then you can supplement with your diet or with, supplementation to repair that microbiome and, get the right balance of the right types of probiotics and good bacterias.
Absolutely. Well, you and I are investigators by nature. We're researchers, and I know that there's probably some people out in the audience as well. So can you talk a little bit about the research that will support, or the clinical research that'll support some of the suggestions that you have in the app?
Right. Yeah. You can, there's a lot of research. Just go on PubMed. I always, encourage patients to educate themselves. But you can go on and talk about, you can type in the search, gut health and chronic illness, and you'll see hundreds of thousands of articles written on that, studies done. So it's there. The information is there. And, the tests that we run, the GI map tests, the labs that we run, if just a CBC CMP tells you if you have an increased amount of lymphocytes, that means you have an extra viral load that you shouldn't have in your body, or if it's, the basal cells, it's bacteria. So it's different types of white blood cells that are elevated in your body tells us what's out of balance in your body. It's simple things like that. These are tests that are $5-6 to run. GI map is a little more expensive, and I highly recommend you doing things like that at least once every couple of years. You kind of need to know where you're at so you don't develop, a chronic illness. And so there are some baseline tests that everybody should be looking at, a stool a sample, just, your annual labs tell you a ton of information about your immune system. Hormone testing when you get, to a certain age, and I'm seeing the need for that younger and younger, people. So there are, and then in this day and age, I like to look at inflammation markers on even 20-year-olds. There are high levels of inflammation, and you need to discover what is causing inflammation in your life, because in my life, it could be mental emotional stress. I'm stressed out. I have 11 children and grandchildren, and I'm in the midst of building a house. So stress is a big inflammation marker for me. And so what do I do for myself to reduce my stress? Well, yours could be what you're putting in your body. When I did the gut repair program, I had several of the students in the classroom that were eating a very healthy, what we would consider, you and I, a very healthy plant-based diet, but they had a sensitivity to the beans and legumes, and it was spiking their glucose up to diabetic levels, 200 to 400, and that was creating inflammation that would last in their body for up to 3 days. And so they would have not just one spike, but multiple spikes. So they're just staying in a state of inflammation and wondering, why do I feel so bad when I'm eating what I'm supposed to, but it wasn't the right diet for them. And so that's why it's really important to know what the terrain of your body looks like.
Absolutely.
Inside and out.
Yes, yes, ma'am. Well, so in addition then to this app, would you say you recommend people get a CGM?
It depends. Yeah. I think it's a good idea. It's a great discovery tool. If you wear one for a month, you can see how your lifestyle is impacting the terrain of your body. I was very surprised in my results because you're a practitioner, you've been in this for years, you think you know everything about yourself, especially. And what I learned is that even though I'm a blood type A, I could not tolerate beans and legumes. It would shoot my blood sugar up. I noticed that when I exercised in the morning, even fasting, it would shoot my blood sugar up to real high levels. And I wondered why I always felt so tired after working out when I would work out in the morning. I did the exact same routine at night, and it would lower my blood sugar, and I would sleep like a baby. So the time of day that I was exercising played a role in the levels of inflammation in my body. But what surprised me the most was how just a simple little disagreement, whether with my husband or one of the kids, would shoot it up, and it would be fasting. I mean, first thing in the morning, it would go up to 250 just with a little bit of stress. And so, I would not have thought that was really stressing me out, but my body said otherwise. So it was really important information. I actually monitored myself for a year and using different hacks and getting my clients and to do these things too. And it was eye-opening. So it really helped me to see that you can't put everybody on a keto diet. It's not the right diet for everybody. You can't put everybody on a plant-based or a raw vegan. It's not the right diet for everybody. You need to know how their body is responding, and that is an excellent way of doing it.
Well, isn't it incredible how the body responds to stress? It can't tell the difference if we're being chased by a tiger or we're arguing over cereals in the morning.
Right.
It still perceives it as stress. So that's just incredible.
Right.
So obviously you've been at this for a while. Are there any success stories that you can share with us?
Tons and tons of success stories. So, I think I've talked about a few. There was one who was extreme type 2 diabetes patient, had struggled with the weight and just inflammation, had a lot of skin issues due to it. The detox pathways were just so blocked, felt miserable, felt hopeless, kind of like the last ditch effort, and what we didn't know was that she believed that if this didn't work, because she felt so bad her life was not worth living. And so to see the transformation where we were able to reverse the type 2 diabetes, get rid of the inflammation, help with her mental clarity and mental health. And by the end of the 30 days, this was a transformed person.
Wow.
It's so touching.
That's incredible.
So things like that really motivate you as a practitioner. But you also see people who have struggled with hormones, and you can reset your hormones with fasting and repairing the gut. And so there's so many benefits. Everybody that ever has done it has had benefit from it. I have never had anyone who went through the gut repair and said, I wish I hadn't have done that.
Right.
My dear friend Lillian, she got really excited about it because she had actually struggled with gallbladder flare up, and they wanted to surgically remove her gallbladder. And I said, you could do that, but you could also do this and repair the gallbladder and the liver. And she's a, healthy individual. But that shows you how much stress plays, even if you do eat a healthy diet, in her life. And gallbladder actually holds the emotion of resentment, liver holds anger typically.
Yeah.
And so there were some, mental, emotional things, but it's really was eye-opening to her that she could heal her body. She didn't have to have that surgery, and she was able to do that. And then later we did more fast with her audience, and we had some tremendous testimonies on that as well.
That's incredible. So I know the gut is huge, and we've talked about that. I mean, it is a key player. What about the gut repair app is so unique that it's different than other apps or programs on the market today?
I think it's unique because I did it.
Of course it is.
Of course. But it's kind of like having Dr. Jen in your pocket, and so I think it's very motivating. There's lots of great apps, and I've, in building this app, I looked at many different apps and programs and, pulled out the things that I thought people really needed, and just talking to clients over and over and their struggles, these were the things that the clients told me that they really wanted to see in an app. And so we deal with the the overwhelming feeling of, oh my gosh, how do I do this? It's so much information. So we just kind of step them through day by day. So you get challenges that, you just worry about that day.
Yeah.
Don't worry about next week when you're doing the water fast or the juice fast. Just worry about today and then look at what's coming for tomorrow. And that's all you have to do. And you have a team supporting you. So you're doing this with other members. You can communicate with one another. You can ask me questions. I will respond back to you. You're just not alone. And I think that's the biggest thing. And you're learning how to eat right for you. And so when you do have an issue, like, one of the recipes, like Dr. Jen, I don't like cauliflower or whatever. We have other options for you. So it is very much an app that is user friendly. It's easy to follow, and it's almost fail proof. You just got to open it up and look at it.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's step one.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So, I mean, we're all so excited to launch the app, but this might be a little far in advance, but where might you see the app going in a couple of years? Growing, expanding? I mean, any thoughts on that?
My hope is that it will definitely grow and expand and be on the majority of people's phone, because I want people taking these principles and incorporating them into their lifestyle. And it doesn't mean that you need to do fasting, every month or whatever. It means that during that 30 days, you're going to figure out what type of fasting regimen is right for you. What works for you? Do I need to do a water fast once a month for one day? Is that going to help me to reach the stage of autophagy so I can keep my body healthy?
Yeah.
Or do I need to do once a year a 30-day juice fast? You'll be able to see how your body responds to all these different types of fasting, what works for you the best. Yeah. And you see that through how you feel, but also through the monitoring. So, I like to look at people's labs before and after. It's dramatic how you can reduce cholesterol and inflammation markers 30, 40 points in 30 days.
Wow.
It's amazing. So you'll figure it out. You'll get to learn and discover, what really truly works for you instead of just trying this lifestyle or this diet or this exercise. You'll
100%.
see.
So is there anything else you want to share in terms of the gut repair app or anything you think people should know about it?
Well, 90% of the population is metabolically broken. And so we talk about this gut repair as just for the gut, but it's for every system of the body. And metabolic disease does start in the gut. And so that's why we're getting to the root of the problem in hopes that it will heal the heart, it will heal the brain, it will heal, the other systems of the body. And so it should be done at least once a year for the average person. It's a great thing to do as a jump start to a total lifestyle, change. So I just encourage everybody, and don't wait until you're, 50, 60 years old. Start these practices while you're young. There's so many other cultures out there that utilize fasting, even with children. The whole family does it all the way up through their life, and those are the healthiest cultures. Americans tend to be the sickest people, and this is because we walked away from all of those foundational truths. And so, it's an easy thing to do, and once your body gets in the habit of doing this periodically, your body will crave it, and it will thank you for it.
100%.
Yeah.
Well, we are so excited to launch the app, and you guys can stay tuned for more clips and videos on Jen's Gut Repair app.
Yep. Awesome.